Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoying our 2021 NBA mock drafts that we've been putting out on the channel. And today, this is another one we will be doing. If this is something you guys are interested in seeing in the future and you haven't already, make sure to subscribe here to Utility Sports. We would love to have all the support from you guys. It means so much to us. Building up the channel, we're also going to be starting up a few jersey giveaways here in the near future for subscribers on the channel. So if that's something you want to be a part of, make sure to subscribe here. Also, comment on today's video what you enjoyed and also some picks that you agreed with or disagreed with. I love hearing from you guys what your thoughts are and getting to know what you guys think about some of these players here in the NBA draft. It means a lot. Also, leave a thumbs up on today's video if you do enjoy. That would mean a lot for us here at Utility Sports. So let's jump into it here. And I want to point out that these standings, I'm actually recording this on Sunday, May, I believe, 16th. At this point, this is when I'm recording this video. It will be scheduled up for during this week because I'm going out to Atlanta, Georgia for a couple days. So this is getting recorded ahead of time, but it is a play-in tournament-based style NBA mock draft with the current standings from today, Sunday, May 16th. So let's jump into it here. Now, with the first pick, the Houston Rockets are on the board here based off the current standings. Remember, I did not perform a lottery in this mock draft. We've just been doing it based off the standings. I think it's the best way to do it until we see the actual lottery play out itself. I don't want to speculate too much. So here with pick one, we've got the Houston Rockets going with point guard Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State. He's been phenomenal all year long. It's really a two-person draft in terms of who's possibly going to be the number one overall pick. There's a little bit of a divide between Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green. I know a lot of guys look at Jalen Green and say, look at his potential. His athleticism is through the roof. He can create shots off the dribble. But I think Cade Cunningham is just the more well-rounded player at this point. He's got a better feel for the game, much better passer. I think he handles the rock better with both hands, especially in traffic. And you're looking at a 6'7" point guard. Last video I talked about GMs not really wanting to pass up on a 6'7" point guard. Of course, that happened last year with LaMelo Ball, but that hasn't been the best selection. At this point, you're looking at Golden State, who, if they had LaMelo Ball, that would be insane. Also, the Minnesota Timberwolves, I know Edwards has been playing very good as of late, but LaMelo Ball would maybe have been transformative for that franchise. So at this point, Cade Cunningham should be the first overall pick. Houston badly needs to address that point guard position, and I think that this would be the time to do so. I think that Cade Cunningham is going to be the surefire number one pick. I think Jalen Green has a ton of potential, so he's not going to be falling far in this year's mock draft. However, Cade Cunningham, to me, is the first overall selection, especially for Houston, who needs someone who's going to possibly be a transformative player, someone they can really run their offense through at all times, and Cade Cunningham is going to be able to do that. Now, pick number two, we've got the Detroit Pistons here, again, based off the standings, and they're going to go with guard Jalen Green out of G League Ignite. Like I said, he's a phenomenal player, played very, very well in a professional platform for the G League Ignite, played against NBA-level players in the G League. And I think that a lot of people are underlooking him as a prospect because of the competition he had to face. He played very well against good competition. He's got real athleticism. I think Detroit's a great landing spot for him, actually. You look at this team that has Isaiah Stewart, who, you know, I'm not as high on as everyone else, but he's a quality center. He's going to be a starting level center in the NBA. And they've also got Killian Hayes, who, again, I'm not as high on as everyone else. But at the end of the day, Killian Hayes can pass the ball, especially in transition. That's where Killian Hayes' strength lies a little bit. Jalen Green is going to fit in perfectly there as their main scorer, the primary scoring option for Detroit. You let him loose in the half court playing off ball. Killian Hayes is going to be someone who can find him, throw lobs to him, get him the ball in certain situations that are going to lead to Jalen Green being successful. I think he needs to develop his left hand a little bit. It's funny, in this picture here, we actually see him attacking with his left hand. I don't think he's as great at the rim with his left hand as he needs to be a great NBA player, but he'll get there. He's a young kid, only 1 year out of high school. He's going to be a very good NBA player for a long time. Detroit here gets their league player of the future with Jalen Green. Now moving into pick three, we got the Orlando Magic, and I think they're a team to watch this offseason. They also own the Chicago Bulls pick that I believe is top 4 protected. So they have two routes here where they could get really good players with 2 picks in the top 10 possibly. Here at pick 3, they're going to go with Evan Mobley, the center out of USC. I had him falling a little bit in this mock, I thought, but then Orlando actually did move up recently with the standings, so they stay at 3 here. They're going to go with Evan Mobley. They get their long-term center replacement for Nikola Vucevic. I just don't think Wendell Carter is going to be someone they look at as a long-term starter there in Orlando. Orlando loves to select big man. They've done it many times in the past. Mo Bamba being an example of that. And here, Evan Mobley is going to be someone who has the potential to be a phenomenal center in the NBA. You're looking at someone who's going to get compared probably to Bam Adebayo with his mobility while he moves in space, and also someone who's going to have a chance to develop on the offensive end as a rim roller, someone who's going to bring a lot of potential there in the NBA for the Orlando Magic. Jumping now into pick 4 here, we've got the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're another team to really watch for. If that Houston Rockets pick falls out of the top 4, Houston would actually be able to get it. We could see them having 2 top 5 picks possibly. There's a 48% chance that the Houston Rockets pick does fall to pick number 5. So that is a storyline to monitor moving forward. Oklahoma City very possibly could own 2 top 5 picks if their own pick moves up or stays in the top 4 and Houston's falls to 5. But in this mock draft, they're at 4 with their own pick, and they're going to go with guard Jalen Suggs. They badly need to find someone else in that backcourt who's going to help take pressure off of guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I've been very vocal since Shai Gilgeous came out for the 2018 NBA draft that he was going to be a very good player in the NBA, and he's even exceeded my expectations. I didn't think he was going to be this good this quick. He's really emerged as someone who can get his own shot off and score the ball without help, and that's something I didn't expect right away from him. I thought that's going to be, maybe a secondary characteristic he develops when he's about 25 years old, maybe 26. But he's already doing it at the young age of 22. He's going to be a very, very good player for a long time. And for Oklahoma City, it's about finding someone else who can help take off that pressure in the backcourt. Jalen Suggs did it all for Gonzaga. Very, very good defensive player. He's got a nose for the basketball. He can play physically, but he's also got the speed, quickness to play without physicality as well. He's going to be a phenomenal on-ball defender and off-ball defender in the NBA, in my opinion. And also someone who's got combo guard skills. He can pass like a point guard. He can handle the ball like a point guard, but he can also score, cut off the ball like a shooting guard. I think Jalen Suggs is going to be one of the better players in this class, and I have him going 4th overall here to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Moving into pick 5 now, the Cleveland Cavaliers have moved up in recent days. They've been picking at 6 for a majority of the process. They're now at pick 5 based off the standings, and they go with forward Jonathan Kuminga out of G League Ignite. Now, Kuminga's a very interesting player, and at the end of the day, I think it's possible we could be talking about Kuminga as possibly the best player from this class when it's all said and done. Now, I've got some questions about his efficiency from the field and from 3, but he showed a lot of raw tools and skills during his few games he played for the G League Ignite this past year. Of course, he's got the size. He's going to be 6'8" with about a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan. He's got an NBA-ready body. He's about 215 pounds right now. Probably could use a 5 to 10 pounds yet on that frame, but that will come when he ages a little bit more. He's athletic. He's also got the traits that you're looking at from a skill standpoint. He kind of reminds me of Paul George when Paul George came out, obviously over a decade ago now at this point. Paul George, known for being able to also have the ball in the string, handle the rock, quality passer. I think Jonathan Kuminga could really grow into that. That's kind of the comparison I see the best for Jonathan Kuminga. Similar frame, I think a similar skill set, just needs to develop with the efficiency a little bit, get a little bit more consistent at putting the ball in the hoop from some of those tough angle shots he takes, and also some of those tough pull-up jumpers he likes to take in transition. But Jonathan Kuminga is someone who has very high potential. I think Cleveland here could swing big and get rewarded for it with Jonathan Kuminga. You're looking at Sexton, Garland, Kuminga, and Okoro on the same team. I really like that moving forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jumping into pick 6 now, we have the Golden State Warriors on the clock. This pick obviously comes from the Minnesota Timberwolves, the trade regarding Andrew Wiggins and D'Angelo Russell. And here the Warriors go with forward Scottie Barnes out of Florida State. Since they've lost Kevin Durant, they've needed some wing help for sure. There's no denying that there. Andrew Wiggins been a very pleasant surprise there. I was very vocal that I thought he was going to play pretty well in a new destination, and that's what he's done. In a lot of ways, he's actually outperformed D'Angelo Russell since the trade. Of course, D'Lo's been very injured, though. It's hard to really gauge those two players comparatively, but Wiggins been a nice surprise. I think Scottie Barnes comes in, replaces Kelly Oubre, who doesn't want to be a bench player. Scottie Barnes comes in, pick 6, and also has a very high ceiling, but also a pretty high floor as well, in my opinion. He's going to be able to defend multiple positions in the NBA. Florida State known for developing a lot of defensive-minded players. Scottie Barnes, just the latest rendition of that. The seminal is going to come into Golden State and help impact winning on day one, and also could be a part of that new phase franchise for the Golden State Warriors moving forward, where you see James Wiseman and Scottie Barnes being the lead players for them for years to come at this point. Advancing now into pick number 7 here. At this point, we have the Toronto Raptors, who just really never had their season going. A big reason for that is the center play there. Aaron Baines just didn't work out with the Toronto Raptors the way I think many had expected him to. Had a nice year last year with Phoenix, came into Toronto, just didn't really get it done. Of course, they've moved on from Aaron Baines, now playing a variety of different centers. Gillespie being one of them. Of course, Chris Boucher had a very good year, just doesn't have the stamina to go a full 36 minutes like a starter. So Toronto's definitely going to be looking at starting center here in this class, but it's a very thin picking at that point. So instead, I have them going with guard Keon Johnson out of the University of Tennessee. He's a player who I think has a little bit of a tough situation trying to find a real fit for him, because he's going to be kind of a hybrid guard where he's a little bit of a point guard in terms of his ability to handle the rock and get to the rim off the bounce. But I don't know if he's going to be able to function as well as a shooting guard, which is kind of where his size would have him playing as a 6'5" guard. At this point, he struggled to shoot the 3 ball last year for Tennessee, but I think maybe going to Toronto, somewhere that really develops guard play, could help Keon Johnson come into his own. He's got a lot of potential, someone who's very, very athletic, can get to the rim, finish above help side defenders, and I think that he's got a lot of potential moving forward. I look at him as a top 10 pick for sure in this year's class. My only question is finding the fit for him. Once the lottery happens and we see who's picking where, maybe a real destination opens up a little bit more for Keon Johnson. Of course, the Raptors have a very strong backcourt already. I know Kyle Lowry's a free agent, but Fred VanVleet, Malachi Flynn, 2 examples of very, very good players in that backcourt already for the Toronto Raptors. And now also having Gary Trent Jr. come in from the Norman Powell trade. It's a loaded backcourt, but Keon Johnson going to make them a lot better as well. Gives them some athleticism, someone who's going to get to the rim. I think that's a nice compliment for that Toronto Raptors backcourt. I think Nick Nurse will get the most out of him for the long-term future. Pick 8, now we have the Orlando Magic again on the clock. This is the pick I alluded to earlier from the Chicago Bulls in the Nikola Vucevic trade. And at this point, they're going to go for a home run selection here. They take guard Josh Giddey out of the Adelaide 36ers, playing for the NBL this year. He has recorded 3 triple-doubles over there. As an 18-year-old, he's playing phenomenal basketball on a professional stage. I've been higher on Josh Giddey than almost every other person, every other expert around, saying that this kid is going to be a very, very good player. He's got real feel for the game, phenomenal passer. He's going to do it all at the next level for the NBA. Now, I know the Orlando Magic have a loaded backcourt already. RJ Hampton getting some run this year. Down the stretch, he's been playing pretty well for them with Markelle Fultz out. Cole Anthony's had a few really good moments this year as well for the Orlando Magic, and of course Fultz, once he's healthy, going to help impact winning there as well in Orlando. But at the end of the day, I think that they've got to go for potential. Josh Giddey has one of the highest potentials in this year's class, in my opinion. I would not be surprised if at the end of the day he's a top 5 player from this class. I've been very, very high on him during the entire process. I was the first person I know to put him in the lottery. I've never had him lower than pick, I think, 16 in any of my mock drafts either. Even at the start of the year, I've been very, very vocal about Josh Giddey being a very good player. You guys can go and check it out on our other mock draft videos on the channel. I love what Josh Giddey brings to the NBA, and I think the Orlando Magic are going to love having him as well for the future. He comes in despite a loaded backcourt. Of course, they went with Evan Mobley earlier. Now they come back and get a 6'8" point guard, someone who has real guard skills, can pass, with the best of them in this year's class, in my opinion. And Orlando swings for the fences with their 2 picks, Evan Mobley, Josh Giddey. Take a long-term approach to this rebuild. We'll probably see them back in the top 5 again next year is my guess. But Josh Giddey, Evan Mobley going to be 2 big-time staples for this Orlando Magic roster moving forward if that's the way they go on draft night. Pick number 9, now we have the New Orleans Pelicans here on the clock. Stan Van Gundy, there's no surprise here. He needs shooting. But that's not the way he's going to go because it's Stan Van Gundy. I don't trust him. I don't really know if he understands how to build a team here in 2021. What he did to the Pistons was brutal, and he hasn't helped the New Orleans Pelicans either since he got there trading for Steven Adams. Of course, he's not the actual GM David Griffin is, but he's been pushing David Griffin's decision-making. They're going to go with guard Davion Mitchell here, who I think is a phenomenal player in this year's class. The best defensive player, in my opinion, in the entire class, especially looking at a perimeter defensive standpoint. He's going to cut off straight line drives. He's going to be a total pest out on the perimeter. Kind of reminds me of Patrick Beverley, but with a more refined offensive skill set coming into the NBA. He's going to play physically, but also can handle the ball in the pick and roll. He's going to be a quality starting point guard. And I think the Pelicans are probably nervous about losing Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo Ball might get a max contract from some team that's not super competitive at this point. They might lure him away from New Orleans. At that point, the Pelicans looking at Kyra Lewis. Is he ready to be a starting point guard? I know Nickeil Alexander-Walker has also improved this year quite a bit, but Davion Mitchell will be the selection here. They're not going to address shooting like I think that they should in this mock draft. Instead, they go with a defensive guard, someone that Stan Van Gundy's really going to like. Of course, really a defensive-minded coach. He's all about playing basketball in the paint. And that's why they really liked him. They thought he's going to help Zion Williamson out. Instead, he's really kind of collapsed that team a little bit. Brandon Ingram took a step back this year, mostly because of Stan Van Gundy's coaching style. But at the end of the day, they go with guard Davion Mitchell here to look for someone who's going to be a defensive-minded guard for them. Pick 10, we've got the Sacramento Kings here now on the clock, and they opt for center/forward Usman Garuba, where there's a big divide on Garuba around many circles in the NBA. League sources, a lot of people really like Garuba. Other people are a little more hesitant on him. Now, I think he's a long-term project piece. I don't necessarily love him as a player overall. I think his offensive game is a real struggle at this point, honestly. I don't think he's got the skills where it's going to be a good NBA player on the offensive end of the floor. But if you look at him as a defensive weapon, that's exactly what he is. He's going to block a ton of shots. He's going to get in the passing lanes as a center. He's got a lot of mobility, a lot of athleticism. And I think the Sacramento Kings got to look at themselves and say, you know, we're not competing right now. We haven't made the playoffs for 15 years. Are we really in a position where, hey, if we draft a more NBA-ready player, is that going to put them over the hump in the Western Conference where the Timberwolves are probably going to be better next year? You're looking at the Warriors going to be better with Klay Thompson. The Grizzlies aren't going anywhere. The Mavericks, Jazz, Lakers, Clippers, so on. The West is still going to be very good next year, and I don't think the Kings at pick 10 are going to find a player that's going to put them over the hump next season to get them into the playoffs. They've got to take a long-term approach, really make this thing work around De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton. We could probably see Buddy Hield get moved during the offseason possibly. Maybe add another pick in the first round a little bit later on for Buddy Hield. We'll see exactly what his market ends up looking like for a trade, but I think the Kings go with Usman Garuba here, trying to find someone who's going to be a long-term answer for them, someone who's going to be another really good player to put around Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox. When you already have those two quality offensive players and solid perimeter defenders as well, Usman Garuba can come in and also be a Swiss Army knife for you on the defensive end of the floor. I like this for Sacramento. I think that they're a team that needs to take a project long-term approach with Garuba. Now with pick 11 here, we have the San Antonio Spurs on the clock. And they're a team, they've kind of trembled a little bit, question marks for me. They're going to be in the play-in tournament. They're the 10th seed out in the West right now. We'll see if they can make it into the playoffs. But at this point, they're going to go with guard Moses Moody, who I really, really like out of Arizona. He's a very, very good player. He can get his shot off on the perimeter. And I think if you're looking at San Antonio, they've got Jakob Poeltl as their long-term center. They got him under contract. And I know that they've got Lonnie Walker and also DeJounte Murray. But I think that this team needs to get more shooting. They're going to lose DeMar DeRozan this offseason, Rudy Gay this offseason. I don't know the future of Patty Mills there in San Antonio. I don't think he'll be back either. They've got to find some guys who are going to be able to stretch the floor. In other mocks, I've been looking at Corey Kispert a little bit later. But at this point, Moses Moody's still on the board here. He goes to San Antonio. I like this for them. You've got a nice young core there with Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, DeJounte Murray. Add another guy into the rotation who's going to be able to shoot the ball, give you baskets. That's what San Antonio needs more than anything at this point, in my opinion. Pick number 12 now. We have the Charlotte Hornets on the clock, who've stumbled as of late. They haven't been winning a lot of games. Lost again today to Washington. That put Washington for sure in the 8th seed. Remember, I'm recording this on Sunday, May 16th at this point. So that is what I mean by today. And here the Charlotte Hornets are going to go with center Kai Jones out of Texas. I think that they need to look at the center position with Kai Jones falling a little bit further in this mock draft than he has in some of the other ones. They have to go with him here, trying to find the center for the future who's going to be an athletic weapon for them, someone who can catch lobs from LaMelo Ball, also function in this pick and roll game and give them a little bit of hope as a rim protector for the future. Bismack Biyombo just not going to get the job done. Zeller not going to get the job done there long term. Kai Jones comes in. He's going to be a guy who has to develop a little bit. His potential, I think, is higher than where he's currently at, of course. Charlotte's going to have to do a little bit of development with him, but I think Kai Jones is the selection here for the Charlotte Hornets. We've now seen 3 centers go, including Usman Garuba and Evan Mobley at this point through the top 12 picks. But like I said, not a strong center class. Some teams might have to reach here. I think Kai Jones probably not a top 12 player in this class at this point, but we've seen this in years past. Jackson Hayes went 10th overall. Jalen Smith went 10th overall. Teams reach on centers because of the need to have not only 1 but 2 quality centers. We saw what happened to the Rockets this year when Christian Wood went down. They completely collapsed because they didn't have a quality backup center. Kai Jones comes in. I know they have Nick Richards and Vernon Carey, but he brings some competition into that starting center position going into next season. Pick number 13 now. The Indiana Pacers are on the clock, and they're going to go with forward Jalen Johnson out of Duke. TJ Warren, I don't think wants to be an Indiana Pacer. I think that he gets traded this offseason more than likely, and we could see the Pacers possibly looking to kind of retool this thing around Domantas Sabonis. Very possible that we see Malcolm Brogdon get moved. Very possible we see TJ Warren get moved. Even Miles Turner, I think they'll probably take some calls on him after his really good year this year. Jalen Johnson is going to be someone who can bring in some athleticism for them, play the 3 or 4 position, can come off the bench early. It's going to give them some baskets, also very, very athletic in transition. I think Indiana needs to try and figure this thing out with their new head coach situation. Of course, some of the players not very happy there that they did make the head coaching change that they did. Jalen Johnson going to be a player who I think has very high potential. We've seen him go in a variety of different spots in this mock draft as we've moved throughout the process. Here he goes still in the lottery, pick 13 to the Indiana Pacers. Moving now into pick 14, we have the Memphis Grizzlies on the clock, and this is a pick I absolutely love. I've been taking my time trying to figure out a good landing spot for him here, and it's Alperen Sengun from overseas. He comes now to the Memphis Grizzlies here at this point. He's someone who has a ton of potential playing in Turkey at this point. Very phenomenal on the low block. He's got a variety of moves. Got great footwork out of the post. He's someone who's going to actually be able to bring that to the NBA. Very rare that we see someone who's ready to come in at the young age of 18 or 19 years old, able to put on moves on the post and score the basketball down there. But he's also someone who has the ability to handle the rock. He's got a good feel for the game. At 7 feet tall, he can pass the rock as well. He's going to be a creative player. Now the question for me is he going to be able to bulk up? Is he going to be able to play that center or 4 position in the NBA? And the great thing here is for Memphis, they've already got some big men there. They're going to be able to let Sengun develop a little bit. They're not going to have to thrust him into too big of a role early on. And this is someone who could really, really help them down the road with John Morant. I think that he's got very, very, very high potential coming into this year's class. Now, I've got a little bit of a question about what his floor is in the NBA. I think he's got a pretty low floor as well. But Memphis going to be able to figure it out with him. If you watch him, he's going to remind you a little bit of Pokusevski, but I think he's actually a more talented player offensively than Pokusevski coming in. He's going to have a lot of ability to score off the block, like I mentioned. Also can stretch the floor. He can do a variety of things, and I think he's going to be a fun player to watch. Memphis here has the infrastructure to take a risk. They do so, and this is something that could pay off really, really big for them in the future. Moving out of the lottery now, we have the Washington Wizards, who've been playing such great basketball as of late. Russell Westbrook, a big reason why he's really fueled that team. Of course, Bradley Beal, a big part of what they do there in Washington as well. I think he's second in the league in scoring this year at this point, behind Steph Curry. And they're going to go with forward Corey Kispert, who falls out of the lottery in this mock draft, but he's someone who's definitely worthy of a lottery pick, in my opinion. He can really, really shoot the ball, similar to what we saw from Cam Johnson for the Phoenix Suns, how great he's been at shooting the rock for them since getting into the NBA. Corey Kispert's going to bring that same thing to Washington. I know that they've got a flurry of forwards there in Washington already at this point, Denny Avdia being the latest one they picked, but Corey Kispert comes in. He's going to help this team be competitive in the short term, but he could also be a staple there in Washington. Of course, Davis Bertans, one of the best shooters in the NBA, already there in Washington, but it's clear they need to add a little bit more shooting around Beal and Westbrook, and I think Corey Kispert gets the job done, especially with not a true center being available at this point. You're looking at probably another year of Daniel Gafford, Alex Len, and also their other center there, of course, starting the year, Thomas Bryant. Thank you. I just had a mind lapse for a second there, but Corey Kispert comes in on the wing, gives them another shooter. I like this at 15. I think this is good value for Corey Kispert. Now moving into pick 16 here, we have the Boston Celtics on the clock, and they're going to go ahead and take guard James Bouknight out of the University of Connecticut. He is someone who is NBA ready. He's going to impact the game in a lot of different ways. I'm not sure if Evan Fournier is going to stick around in Boston or not. That will be a big thing there that Danny Ainge is going to have to decide, and that will impact how he drafts. They could also be a team looking at center, possibly could trade down here as well. I'm not doing trades in this mock draft, but I think James Bouknight at pick 16 does make sense. I think he's one of the best players still on the board at this point. Boston just goes with someone who's NBA ready, going to help them in a variety of ways, a little bit bigger of a guard, and can do a variety of different things for them. Marcus Smart is going to be a staple there in Boston. I don't think he's going anywhere. Kemba Walker, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about. We'll see how Boston kind of handles this offseason. I think it'll be a very telling offseason for the Boston Celtics. I think James Bouknight, a very good place to start for Boston. Pick 17 now, we have the Golden State Warriors on the clock again. Today the day I'm recording it, they're playing the Memphis Grizzlies. This will decide who the 8th seed is or not. Of course, the play-in tournament will ultimately end up impacting that as well. But here, the Golden State Warriors are going to go with guard Ayo Dosunmu out of Illinois. And I love this pick for Golden State in a lot of different ways. Remember, earlier on, they took Scottie Barnes. Now they find someone who, again, is NBA ready, trying to help this team win. Scottie Barnes, NBA ready. James Wiseman is going to be a lot better next year, especially if he's healthy. You bring back Klay Thompson. Now you have Ayo Dosunmu as well in your backcourt, someone who can play the 1 or 2 for you. Nico Mannion, he's had a pretty solid rookie season when he's played. The Warriors, going to be a team that's very dangerous again next year, especially if Steph Curry keeps playing the way he does going into next year. Don't sleep on them as a title contender. I don't think they'll get there. I don't think they'll win the title. But I think they're going to give a lot of teams run for their money. And the Warriors are going to be a very fun team to watch next year, especially if they're able to grab both Scottie Barnes and Ayo Dosunmu. The lottery is going to be very important for this Warriors franchise. We'll see if the Wolves are able to keep their pick in the top 3 or if it will convey to Golden State. Big thing to watch for going into this offseason. Pick 18 now, and we have the New York Knicks now on the clock. At this point, they're going to opt for forward Franz Wagner out of Michigan. He slid a little bit in this mock draft. A lot of people look at him as a lottery pick. I think it's possible he still is a lottery pick. He falls a little bit out of it, goes 18th to the New York Knicks, and I think this is probably one of the floors for where he could go. I would be surprised if he makes it past the Knicks. They're going to look for someone who's going to come in, be a competitive player, someone who wants to win and has won in the past, and that's what Franz Wagner has done. He's impactful on both ends of the floor. I know a lot of the viewers like him. I'm a little less high on him than others, but I think he's someone who's going to have a good impact in the NBA. He goes 18th to the surprise New York Knicks. They've had such a good year, locking up the 4 seed this year as well. They've just played very good basketball all in all, and the next year, having 2 picks in the first round, grab Franz Wagner here at 18. Pick 19 now, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder on the clock. This pick comes from the Miami Heat, of course, through the Houston Rockets with that trade involving Russell Westbrook here. And at 19, they go with Zaire Williams, who's fallen in this mock draft a little bit. He's someone who has a wide range of places he could go. I think he could go as early as 7 and probably as low as 20. I think there's some question marks about his season this past year at Stanford, and I think looking at him, he's someone who's going to also fill up the stat sheet. He's going to help take some of that pressure off of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander I was talking about earlier. How much Jalen Suggs is going to help Zaire Williams, another great example of getting some help here. I would love to see the Thunder be aggressive, try and move their picks up a little bit to maybe try and bring in a better player, someone who's a little bit more ready to help out, but Zaire Williams has high potential. I know a lot of viewers probably like him a lot out of Stanford. He's going to be a very good player in the NBA long-term, I think, and I think looking at this, Oklahoma City starting off the rebuild phenomenally, grabbing Jalen Suggs and Zaire Williams in one draft would be massive, massive, massive for that city of Oklahoma City at this point. Jumping into pick 20 now, we have the Atlanta Hawks here on the clock. I will be down in Atlanta while this video comes out, so very, very interesting here. And I have them going with guard Cam Thomas out of LSU. Georgia Bulldog fans, you guys will know Cam Thomas pretty well, seeing him in the SEC a couple times a year. Played very, very well in the SEC championship, played phenomenally in March Madness as well, the 2 games he played there, of course, beating the St. Bonaventure in round 1, and then ultimately really pushing the Michigan Wolverines in the round of 32. He's had such a good college career. Only as a freshman, averaged 24 points per game, led all freshmen in scoring, and he's going to be a fun player to watch at the next level. I'm glad he decided to come out. I was going to be surprised if he didn't, to be honest, with how good of a freshman season he had for the LSU Tigers. Here, Atlanta's looking for someone who can get some shots off themselves, going to really help out this bench unit for Atlanta. The Rajon Rondo experiment didn't work, And I think you look at Cam Thomas coming in, taking the Lou Williams role off the bench there. That's what I kind of see now for the Atlanta Hawks moving forward. They need someone who's going to be able to score the ball when Trae Young's not on the floor. And Cam Thomas scores the ball better than a lot of people in this class. I think this is a real steal at pick 20, in my opinion. Pick 21, now we have the Los Angeles Lakers on the clock. And they're going to go with forward Johnny Juzang out of UCLA. The Los Angeles native stays with the Lakers now, of course, played 1 year in Kentucky. Just didn't get the run there. The sophomore coming out of UCLA had a phenomenal March Madness. I could see him going even at the back end of the lottery with how he plays the game. He's a 3-level scorer, can get his shot off on his own, but he's going to be a good shooter in the NBA as well. I love this fit for the Los Angeles Lakers. I think Johnny Juzang's going to be a player that fits really seamlessly into the NBA with the way he plays the game. I expect him to have an immediate impact, but also be a guy who can be a long-term piece for a team. The Lakers here really with a great opportunity to add a good player this offseason in the draft. Johnny Juzang is the perfect answer to that. Of course, we'll see if they can make it out of the play-in tournament. That'll be a big thing to watch here for the Los Angeles Lakers, but Johnny Juzang going to have a very long career, in my opinion, in the NBA. Love this fit for Los Angeles. He stays in his home city there in LA. Pick 22 now, we have the Houston Rockets on the board yet again. They are using now their second pick of the first round, of course, grabbed Cade Cunningham first overall. They also have another pick coming up. This would be a team I would love to really see be aggressive, packaging their 2 later picks to try and move up again, get more talent for that starting lineup. But here in this draft where I'm not doing trades, I have them going with Daron Sharp out of UNC. He's an athletic center. He's, I believe, 6'10" or 6'11". So a little bit smaller, not a big center, but he's going to bring athleticism, mobility, and someone who's going to be a long-term backup option behind Christian Wood. I think that that's kind of what they're looking for here at this point. And he's someone who has real potential where I think he could fit alongside Cade Cunningham. He could fit with Kevin Porter Jr. as a lob threat, someone who's going to run the floor very well in transition. If you guys haven't watched Daron Sharp, make sure to go do so. I thought he was going to be a player that played himself into a lottery pick this year, and he just didn't quite have that season. UNC really struggled as a whole, but at the end of the day, I think Daron Sharp has good potential. If a team can coach him up a little bit, especially on the defensive end of the floor, I think he could be a very nice piece in the NBA for a long time. He goes a little high here in this mock draft. He's probably not a top 22 player at this point, but Houston badly needs a center. Rockets fans, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say Christian Wood goes down, you lose 20 straight games because you're playing Justin Patton at center. That's just not acceptable. Cam Reynolds playing very well for the Rockets, just got signed for the rest of the year. But at the end of the day, I think you have to look at a backup center for the long term. I think Daron Sharp is that guy here at 22. Pick 23 here now, we have the New York Knicks. This is the second of their first round picks, and they're going to go with guard Jaden Springer here out of the University of Tennessee. I think a very good player. He's going to come in, give them some shot creating potential off the bench. Outside of Julius Randle, I think that this team long-term needs a little bit more of this shot creation potential. Derrick Rose has helped them quite a bit this year doing so, but I think for the long-term, you have to look at Jaden Springer being someone who has the option to do that. Now, an interesting thing about New York, very possible they could head into the draft with 0 of these first-round picks. If a star player on a team says, hey, I want to be in that New York market, the Knicks are going to be aggressive using their assets that they built up from that Kristaps Porzingis trade to make it happen. Julius Randle having a phenomenal year. I'm not sure if it's sustainable for a long-term situation there in New York, but if he continues playing like this and they get another star, they could be a team to watch out as a contender moving forward. But at this point, I have them going with guard Jaden Springer. I think he's got a lot of potential coming off the bench early on and is going to be someone who can really, put the ball in the hole possibly as a starter down the line. Pick 24 now, we have the Houston Rockets again on the clock. And at this point, they're going to go with center/forward Rocco Prkačin out of Croatia. He was the MVP in that U18 league over there. He's really a nice player. He does a lot of different things. This is a potential base pick for Houston. Less about the current, more about the future there for the Houston Rockets. And he's someone who's going to be able to stretch the floor, can put it on the deck as a big man. He's a true 7-footer. I think he's going to be able to protect the rim, but he's got a lot of ball skills as well. Kind of reminds me again of Aleksej Pokusevski, except he's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger coming out as a prospect. I think he's a very intriguing player. I could see him going anywhere from pick 20, even into maybe pick 40. I'm not certain if he's going to be a first-round pick yet or not at this point, but I think for Houston, grabbing someone who has that long-term potential does make a lot of sense, especially after grabbing both Cade Cunningham and Day'Ron Sharpe, two players who are going to be impact guys in year one of their careers. Rocco Precaution, maybe take a little bit long-term approach, kind of what we saw with the Minnesota Timberwolves last year. They grabbed, of course, Anthony Edwards first overall, Jaden McDaniels, and then Leandro Bolmaro as well. I like that a lot for Minnesota when they did that, because Bolmaro is someone who can maybe develop into a really nice player. Rocco Precaution, kind of a similar move here for the Houston Rockets. Pick 25, now we have the Denver Nuggets here on the clock, and they're going to go with forward BJ Boston. This screams Denver to me. They always take advantage of players falling in the draft. They did so with Bol Bol, who, hasn't quite worked out yet as a player overall, but I think he's still got some potential. We'll see if he ever comes into his own. Michael Porter Jr., of course, the name that jumps to the top of everyone's mind. GM there, Tim Connolly, is going to take a risk here at this point of the draft on BJ Boston. Had terrible efficiency with Kentucky. Struggled putting the ball in the hole consistently, but former top 10 recruit coming out of high school. Season didn't work out there in Kentucky, but he's got ball skills as a forward. He's lengthy, 6'7", got long arms. I've got questions about him defensively. I think he falls asleep a little bit, doesn't have the best fundamentals in terms of the way he moves his feet laterally. I think he falls asleep off ball as well. But Denver, they don't need to have an impact player immediately. They will take the time to coach him up, probably see him play in the G League for a little while as well. But BJ Boston, a phenomenal prospect here that I think the rest of the league will go, oh no, what did we do if he falls to the Denver Nuggets at 25? This could be a great pick for Denver if they're able to unharness or unlock that potential there with BJ Boston. Pick 26 now, the Brooklyn Nets here on the clock, and they're going to go with a proven winner, Jared Butler out of Baylor. He's been such a big part historically of what Baylor has done. Of course, won the national championship this year over Gonzaga. He is a phenomenal player. He's going to come in as a guard, fit as a backup behind Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and this kind of helps alleviate some of the pressure there with Spencer Dinwiddie probably leaving in free agency this offseason. I would be surprised if he's back in Brooklyn, just with how the luxury tax hard cap works there in the NBA. It's going to be hard for them to retain Spencer Dinwiddie for the long term. But Jared Butler comes in. He's going to bring a winning attitude. He's going to bring a lot of quality skills on both ends of the floor as well to Brooklyn as a backup guard. They've been kind of having to dig around this year looking for a backup guard. They've made some nice moves, Mike James being one of them. But Jared Butler going to be the long-term backup guard there behind Kyrie Irving, James Harden, so that when those two players miss games in the future, Jared Butler can slot in and give them a nice quality backup guard for the future. Pick 27 now at this point. The Los Angeles Clippers here go ahead and select guard Josh Christopher out of Arizona State. The Sun Devil has a lot of potential as well. He's a player I really like. Of course, wearing James Harden's number 13 there in Arizona State. Very highly ranked recruit. Has struggled a little bit, especially with the efficiency. Did not shoot well from three at all this year. But the Clippers already have the infrastructure in place. They can take a risk here. Remember what we saw from Kevin Porter Jr. when he fell to pick 30. Cleveland took him. Didn't work out there because of some of the issues with management and so on. But we're seeing now what Kevin Porter Jr. can be as a player, as a shot creator, someone who can score the ball. And I think Josh Christopher's got a lot of those similar traits to him. If he doesn't go in the first round, that is a disservice based off of his potential. Just looking at him, his body of work, what he's going to be able to do, he's going to be able to put the ball in the hole. Probably expect him to play for the Agua Caliente Clippers for a while in the G League, but Josh Christopher long-term could be a very nice scoring wing for the Los Angeles Clippers. Pick 28 now, the Philadelphia 76ers here on the clock. I say this in every single mock draft. I don't expect them to have this pick come draft night. Daryl Morey hasn't made a first-round selection since 2015 when he took Sam Decker. Clearly just didn't work out there with the Houston Rockets. He's not a great executive when it comes to the draft, so they're probably going to move this pick. I think he plays to his strengths. But if they don't, they're going to go with guard Sharif Cooper out of Auburn. I like Sharif Cooper in terms of what he brings as a playmaker and a passer. I think he makes some questionable decisions as a scorer. He likes to really take those pull-up jumpers at the three-point line. Also settles for fadeaway mid-rangers. That's just not really where the NBA is at. His efficiency at Auburn suggests similar things as well. He just did not shoot the ball well from the field. But all in all, he's going to be a very good passer. I think Philadelphia needs someone who can come off the bench and give them real playmaking opportunities. They had Raul Neto in the past. They also had, currently they have Shake Milton. I think that Sharif Cooper comes in, gives them what they're needing there in that backcourt if they do keep this pick. Pick 29 now, we have the Phoenix Suns here on the clock. What a great season for Phoenix. And they're going to go ahead and take guard Chris Duarte. They're getting a career year out of campaign. I just don't know if I really trust that long term, and I don't know if Phoenix management's going to trust that either. You bring in a bigger guard here who can play the 1 or 2, who's going to be able to play alongside Chris Paul or as the backup point guard behind Chris Paul. Chris Duarte does it all, scored 17 points per game this past year for Oregon as a senior. And I think he's going to be a very, very nice player long term. He's got a lot of potential to grow into yet. Hasn't been playing at the collegiate level that long of a time either, so I think there's still a lot for him to grow. And despite being a senior player, I think Chris Paul is going to help coach him up a little bit too as a playmaker, more of a floor general type feel. That's really where I think he struggles a little bit more. I think he can really put the ball in the hole though, and Phoenix looks for someone who's going to help impact winning, and Chris Duarte is going to do that coming out of Oregon. And now with the final pick of the first round here, we have the Utah Jazz, who've had a phenomenal season. Very surprisingly, had 250 win teams this year in a 72-game season. That's just how good the Jazz and Suns have been this year. And they go with forward Matthew Hurt out of Duke. This is the first time he's made it into my first round mock. And I think it's more so based off of fit and need here for Utah. I think they're going to look for someone who can play the 4 position behind Bojan Bogdanovic, someone who can stretch the floor and really shoot the rock. You see he's got this high release point here for Duke. He's a player that was phenomenal throughout high school, playing in the state of Minnesota. Won the Minnesota Basketball Player of the Year, I believe, 2 years consecutively. He was that good in high school, and I think Duke, it just hasn't worked out. Duke hasn't been as competitive as many thought they would be the last couple of years, but at the end of the day, Matthew Hurt is an NBA player. He's going to be able to shoot the ball, and he's going to bring in some of that winning mentality too that he's had in the past, specifically in high school, where he was doing most of the winning. I think the Utah Jazz here look for someone who's going to be able to space the floor for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, who are their 2 build-around players for the future. Hopefully, again, guys, you enjoyed this video. It means a lot having all the support from you at Utility Sports. We also have merchandise up on the channel. Check that out. Link is in the description for that. We really appreciate everything you guys do for us on the channel. You have no idea how much your support means to us here. Thanks again, guys, so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on more Utility Sports content. And we'll catch you in the very next video.